It's time to settle in for another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast, Ethan. This is number 236 coming to you on Monday, September 29th. My name is Chris Salona. Ethan, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. It is a beautiful, beautiful fall day here. It felt like Saturday. We're recording on a Friday. I played golf, first tee time of the day, and just awesome. There's a lot of fog and dew, and then it cleared up. It was a beautiful, beautiful morning to be out doing stuff, and I got a good weekend ahead planned. And
the birthday weekend for both of us.
It is our birthday weekend, and we do talk about it. We talked about it a little bit last week, but this will be the day after. But I'm gonna play some disc golf tomorrow. Gonna get some breakfast at a diner, which I'm pumped about.
Oh yeah, diner breakfast that's
We're
definitely
smoking some
needed.
Ribs for Sunday.
I thought you were saying smoking some cigarettes.
It could be that too, but we got a lot of football to watch. There's like the Ryder Cup's going on. There's this like the big college football weekend. A lot of really good matchups. And then the NFL, I got to coach up my fantasy team. They've been slacking a little bit. Like, they start off pretty hot and they're good, but I'm like I think I'm sitting at 1 and 2 with all of them. So this is a big, this is a big weekend.
This is the get right week.
Yeah, we got to be 2 and 2, or I'm.
Yeah. But
I'm excited. It's going well. It's going well. I'm just kind of, I'm almost caught up on like the schedule and routine of being back here in Pennsylvania, which is good. I usually, give a week and a half where you just kind of getting a hold on things. So yeah, we're settling in. I mean, it's going to pick up. I mean, it always is picking up, but like, I feel like October's got stuff planned. September did too, but October,
Yeah, I'm already, I'm doing that thing for October where like I'm just saying yes to things, and I have a couple more things that I need to plan. It's going to be a busy month, but it's good. We like it that way.
Yeah, for sure. So how are you doing, man?
Good, dude. It's been a good week. Last night I got 8 hours of sleep, which was really, really nice. Yeah, as you said, it's a Friday. Today's the 26th. So, kind of getting through the day here today. I have my last heavy lift today before my weightlifting competition on October 5th. So I'll go in today and hit a heavy snatch and hit my opener in the clean and jerk. So feeling pretty excited about that. Definitely have some meat PRs in sight. The body's feeling really good, so we'll just kind of keep going on that. But same thing, birthday, not ostensibly birthday activities, but I just have a full schedule just with friends and doing different things. So I think I mentioned it last week's episode, but on Saturday I'm going Saturday I'm going to the Boston College versus Cal football game up at Chestnut Hill, and then the kayak races on Sunday. So it's shaping up to be a good one, man. I'm looking forward to pretty much everything on my schedule for the next the next couple of weeks. I got some fun things going on the schedule. So I've got the birthday weekend here. The next weekend I have my lifting meet, and then the following weekend the boys and I are going up to New Hampshire for a night to do some hiking and camping and climb one of the mountains and camp up there. So it'd be pretty good.
Dude, I love a good hiking excursion.
Oh yeah, yep. I'm getting my my gear situation dialed in here, trying to pull together the pieces of what I need. So we'll get that done.
Yeah, you get a little more experience. You know what you're looking for now.
Exactly, man. So things are looking up. I think it's going to be a tremendous autumn here.
So this was the 26th and 27th. This is the year anniversary of when we went out to LA. Yeah. And we saw Cafaro, Leif, Jensen, and we went to Joshua Tree, Chris. And we
saw Goose.
We saw Goose, and it was just an incredible weekend. And I think we talked about it on the show. We did a full episode, right, on the travel?
I believe we did, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, it is so fun to think about and talk about that Joshua Tree trip. And I just want to throw it out on the pod that if you guys have always wanted to go to Joshua Tree, that is totally worth it. It's my favorite place on earth still. It's been holding the crown for the past year.
I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, and I've been thinking about it for a while, but I think my next tattoo, I'm going to get a Joshua Tree somewhere. Yeah. I'm going to make that appointment here pretty soon. I've just been jonesing for some new ink. So what better thing to put on my body than a Joshua Tree? So
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I just got to figure out where.
That is always the tough spot. I think I want to get a cactus. I already have one, but another cactus would be great.
Get more, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, dude.
All right. Yeah. Busy time, fun time, a lot of good stuff. Man, I just love that football's rolling all the time. I'm not going to lie. It's comforting.
Yeah, it's nice. It's always a good social thing too. You know, there's always something on TV to get together with, and have some food with your friends and just catch up. It's pretty good. We got to do that. You got to keep the cadence of that rolling throughout our lives.
Eternity.
It's important. Yeah, it never ends. One more order of business in relation to our birthday weekend. You're turning 31 and I'm turning 29, and I think we have to do it again. We do it pretty much every year on our birthday. We post on the page like a picture of us, and then we drop a Venmo in the caption and say, if you want to buy us a beer, people can go ahead and Venmo us beer money. I think we got to do that again, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a picture since it was the last time we saw it? When was the last time?
Yeah, we have. I don't think we've seen one another since the trip out west. Yeah, it's been a year, so we got to change that soon. So I might just have to run back the picture from Muscle Beach.
That picture is good. That was a really fun time. Yeah. That's crazy because last year, leading up to that, I feel like I saw you.
We saw each other. I think probably 4 or 5 times in 2024. And we're on a drought right now, but now that you're back, we'll make some plans, and we're
gonna make up for lost time. But exactly. Yeah, it's been a long stretch here. We don't have any new photos.
I know, dude.
In classic male friendship fashion, we don't have any photos.
Well, that's the thing. Like I always I used to post on Instagram like my own like relatively frequently, but like now, like I think I post like 2 or 3 times a year, and then I'm like, oh, like I kind of want to post what I've been up to, but like I have no pictures of what I've been up to, so it's like, how do I?
It goes in waves. Sometimes you're really good at getting pictures, and then other times you're just like, oh man, like that whole weekend just happened, and I got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's the way it goes. I got to be better about taking pictures, I suppose.
Yeah, I always appreciate having them. So it's like.
Yeah, 100%.
Even the random ones.
Yeah, the random ones are the best ones, man. So
Candids.
Absolutely. So, big into that.
All right. We wouldn't be able to do this show without the support of everybody out there listening, the listeners. And we do have a Patreon that you go and support. We have a great league of supporters at various tiers. The lowest being the $2 tier. That's equivalent to a cup of coffee, 1 cup of coffee for a month.
At this point, coffee's even more expensive than that. A lot of places you go. So,
you can't get a $2 cup of coffee. That's just not.
If you think about that, then like that means that the value of the Grunge Bible podcast has increased because our prices haven't gone up, but it's the same product. So I think you're getting more for your dollar in a world where you continually get less and less everywhere else you turn. Grunge Bible podcast is not like that. We continue to provide impeccable value for the low price of $2, $5, or $10 a month.
We also have a $5. So if you want to pay the full price of a coffee,
right,
we do have a tier for that. Where
if you want a Starbucks coffee, you can give us $10 a month.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the top tier. That is the final boss. Unless
if you're enterprising and you want a breakfast sandwich along with your coffee, perhaps, or a little pastry or something.
We have a few people that have gone above and beyond the final tier and wrote in their own amounts, and it's amazing. So while you're listening, if you're getting some joy out of this podcast, which I hope you are, or if you are a new listener and you're just like, I like supporting things, maybe consider that, at the end, because every little bit goes a long way, and we will, shout you out / read your review. We love reviews. Yeah. So if you just want us to, read what you're saying, then the best way to do that is if you write a review, good or bad, we will, will read it.
We
just
own
make
up
it
to
interesting.
The bad. There's no censorship here.
Yeah, just read it, make it interesting. Exactly.
100%. So with that being said, we would like to thank the members of the top tier on Patreon. And Ethan, as you said, there's some people that have taken it upon themselves to give us more money than is required for the top tier. And we do currently still have the tie at the top between Crackerman and the tag team of Abraham and Frank at $35 a month a piece, which is major. And that's definitely that warms our hearts, and it goes a long way to keep this thing going, because obviously everything else has gotten expensive. All of our costs that go into putting this thing on, all of our subscriptions, internet, all that stuff continues to go up. So we appreciate that very, very much. And then the rest of the top tier is comprised of Carlene Solona, Jamie Lynn, Doug Endy, What the Fuck Is Up Denny's, Nikki Six, Black Hole Sean, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Eddie Vedder Got Me Through My Second Divorce, Sherry Matthews, Gochujang, Russell, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, The Michael Dooley Project, A Bit Dusty, Ultra Mega OK, Heidi in Chains, Looking California, Feeling Minnesota, and Grits Likes Pasta, the newest member of the top tier, sticking around for another week. We love to see it.
2 weeks in a row at the number one spot, man. That's great.
Oh yeah. That's
some people dream of getting that number one spot and they never do it,
I know, that's the thing.
All right. So we are going to get into this day in music. In this episode, as we talked about last week, there's a ton of albums that come out in September, and this episode is coming out on September 29th, and there's actually a few albums that did come out on this exact date. So this is overall, we're going to do our normal This Day in Music, and then we're going to talk about a few specific albums a little bit more than we did last week. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much the show. We're going to kind of go, this is This Day in Music. September 29th over the years, the whole episode.
Absolutely. And Ethan, I want to let you lead this one off back in 1948 because we were just talking off air about this one, but I was not aware of this until I just looked at the notes and saw that you added it, and I'm quite excited about this.
Yeah, so in 1948, and it's actually a double This Day in Music because something happened later to them, but Mark Farner, one of the original members and singer and guitarist for Grand Funk Railroad, was born. And what a beautiful name for a band, Grand Funk Railroad. Just incredible. And on his 25th birthday in 1973, September 29th, 1973, their song We're an American Band hit number one on the U.S. singles chart, which was one of their two songs that ever made it to the top. So that's a great 25th birthday. Still young.
It's better than what my 25th birthday was.
25 years old to have a number one hit and called We're an American Band. That's great. A little trivia, Chris. I don't know. Maybe I put it in the notes so I wouldn't forget. But do you know what their second number one hit was?
Is it I'm Your Captain, Closer to My Home, that song? Because I know that's like their other big hit.
No, it is actually The Locomotion.
Really?
Yeah. But that one, I know what song you're talking about. That is a good one. I was a little surprised, but The Locomotion is also a fantastic song. But I've always been, We're an American Band. That song, I don't know if my dad was just like, or if they're not one hit wonders, but like, that song was definitely played pretty heavily on the radio back in the day. Great song to be, using the weed whacker, working outside.
Oh yeah,
and coming from the shed.
I suppose American Band is the distinction of being the only Grand Funk Railroad song that they had that went to number one that they wrote. The Locomotion was a cover. It was originally written by the, at the time, husband and wife tag team of Jerry Goffin and Carole King.
There you go.
Written back in I think 1961, so it predates it a little bit, but obviously, once you get on the rails with Grand Funk there, it blasts off to another dimension.
Wow. Didn't know that. That's great.
That's pretty crazy. Todd Rundgren produced the Grand Funk Railroad version.
Very interesting.
That's another guy whose name you see all over the place, Todd Rundgren.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd. Very important. Something else that's very important on this day in 1963, Les Claypool, most notably the frontman and bass extraordinaire of the band Primus, was born. So that puts him at, would that be 62 years old? 63 to 2025. Yeah. Big
Absolutely. Time. Incredible. Best lead singer, bassist man out there. I don't really know who would come close to that other than
Geddy Lee?
Yep, Geddy Lee. He might be number one.
Rick Danko of the band had a hell of a voice as well. I've been dialed into some band lately, but obviously I think Les, certainly around these parts, would take a large portion of that cake. So it's his birthday, anyways. We have to give him the cake.
Yeah. So you can have the cake and eat it.
Happy birthday, Les! One of the weirdest motherfuckers in music.
Yeah, he is. He gives a good interview. I've heard him. I've heard him on a few pods over the years.
100%.
Moving to 1991, getting into the grunge sphere. A very, very important day. This is the day that grunge really took over. MTV, studios finally aired, not finally, but they aired Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time. Obviously the Nirvana hit that broke the internet, changed music forever,
broke the world,
got out of the 80s rock, kind of killed, I was talking to somebody, kind of, I don't say killed rock and roll, but brought in a new wave.
It killed hair metal, that's for sure.
Yeah, new wave of alternative music, alternative rock, coined as grunge, and a lot of pop involved in this album. But I was talking to somebody, and I forgive me if I said it last week, but seeing MTV on after school, it was such a big deal, and having Smells Like Teen Spirit, it was just so cool and just gritty, and everything about it was special, and it really shaped the next 10 years and beyond. It still shapes people today, but something we'll talk about a lot, something, and the impact and the way people talk about that experience of watching it for the first time is something I wish I could experience. But it's always, when I hear those stories, I just remind myself just how important this song is, no matter what type of fatigue you are in with the Nirvana zone, because you hear that song pretty extensively in the last 25 years, 35 years. So
yep, I do remember hearing it for the first time. I was in 6th grade, and as I've mentioned before, a couple of my buddies were getting into music and learning instruments and whatnot, and my friend Josh actually showed me Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time, and I remember the that opening riff, and then Dave coming in on the drums. It's something that we all have that experience, and I don't think that any of us ever forget that experience of hearing it for the first time. So as it was in 91, it was when I was in 6th grade in 2007, as it is for people that are discovering it now in 2025. So a truly timeless song amongst a lot of the word timeless gets thrown around a lot, but this is the truest application of the word, I would say. And we'll talk a little bit more about the music video here later on in the episode, because it's definitely worth it. Two other things that we're going to talk about a little bit were released on this day in 1992, and that is the tandem of STP's album Core, which was their debut album, as well as Alice in Chains' second studio album Dirt, both released September 29th of 1992. Obviously, that was Stone Temple Pilots' first introduction into the world, and they certainly wasted no time, winning over the hearts and minds of many, many fans, and ticking off a lot of the pundits of the world who said they were ripping off the Seattle music sound. But obviously, Alice in Chains coming back after the facelift came out in 1990. They come out with Dirt on this day in 92. We'll be talking about those here in a little bit as well.
Yeah. All right, moving to 2004, bringing up Keith Moon, the drummer for The Who, and his 5-piece drum kit was custom made for him as a drummer, was sold at an auction for approximately $215,000 in London to a collector, and just a world record. It's an absurd amount of money, to almost $250,000. For a drum set. I just wonder if this man played it, or if he set it up as because drum sets, they take a lot of space. It's not like you can hang it on your wall,
right? Like
a guitar or a painting or anything like that.
I think, it depends. If you spend $250,000 on a drum set, I wonder, is it a museum piece in somebody's collection, or is it hey, I want to sit behind this thing and pound it out a little bit. I don't know. I also don't know. This was 21 years ago that it sold for $215,000. I wonder if that has been preempted by any notable drum sets of history. If somebody's paid more, I would imagine. I'm sure if this thing ever makes it to auction, or ever made it to auction after 2004, I'm sure it went for more and more money. But it's a lot of money.
It is.
I certainly don't have that. We'll need a couple more top tier Patreon supporters before we can make a purchase like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we need years of it.
Yeah, we definitely do. So let's move forward to 2009. And on the 17th anniversary of the Dirt album's release, Alice in Chains released Black Gives Way to Blue, which was their first studio album since 1995's Dirt, their first with William Duvall, and obviously, as a consequence, their first without Lane Staley, who passed away in 2002. We'll be getting into that one a little bit more this week. I know we discussed it a little bit last week, but it's the anniversary, so we got to talk about these things. It's important to commemorate these things on the day that they happen, so we'll be doing some of that.
Yes, we will. All right, last thing that we'll talk about just really recently in 2023, U2 kicked off their tour at the Sphere in Las Vegas. They were doing the
residency.
An album tour of residency for Octung Baby, and it was pretty unreal. I mean, I've heard it's just one of those bands that is perfect for the Sphere.
Yeah.
My parents went to a show and they were talking about how they built a screen that was like 80 yards long or something, even bigger. I mean,
they didn't go to the Sphere one. They saw them like around your area, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Around here, that was probably like 2017 or 18 or something like that. And so when I heard they were playing the Sphere, I mean, there's a ton of bands, and I think any band will do well in the Sphere with, I definitely, I guess, I don't know. Were people mad about the idea of the Sphere when it first came out? But I've heard only good things, and I think that it's an incredible idea for music experience and what's the word? Not inclusion, but immersion.
Immersion, yeah.
Yeah, so like in U2, it would be just.
Well, I remember when this happened.
It
wasn't that long ago. It was only 2 years ago. I remember after that first show, seeing the videos from the crowd that were circulating on social media, and seeing it in action for the first time. Like you said, U2, I think, was the perfect band to open up that venue with. And I remember some of those videos were so crazy. And it makes perfect sense too that it was U2, just because, as you said, obviously, with your parents having seen them in probably like 2016 or 17, if I remember correctly. But I mean, going back to, the 80s and even the early 90s, especially with Octung Baby and Zooropa, like they did so much in terms of, using their live performances and really just doing extravagant things in terms of performance art. So I think it was a very, very fitting band to open up that venue with. And I know there's been a couple of different residencies, and obviously they've used that venue for a lot of things. And I would love to see, maybe bucket list is too strong of a word, but the curiosity of it, like I'd love to have that experience.
I think it's definitely a bucket list.
Seeing somebody at the Sphere, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, it's one of those venues. Obviously you have favorites or people you'd really want to see, but I would take any show, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Next time we go to Joshua Tree, we'll fit in the Vegas trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes a lot of sense.
Got to do the Sphere, got to do Red Rocks, and got to do the Gorge. And of course, we had we were going to make an attempt to see Jackson Browne at Red Rocks in 2022, but we instead decided to stay in Boulder and go to the Front Bottoms, which I think was a great choice. But these choices always have to be made, Ethan.
Yeah, we underestimated the power of Jackson Browne. We thought maybe the tickets would be reasonably priced, but they were like
somebody's baby
for sure.
Doctor My Eyes.
It would have been absolutely electric.
Yeah.
It'll come. We'll make it out there. Hopefully these places, like, they're gonna keep doing shows. So
yeah, everything in its own time. So that is This Day in Music for September the 29th. Those are some of the notable things that happened. So obviously, given the very, very strong list as it relates to grunge, we do want to talk about those 3 albums that were released on this day, and we also want to talk about the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video, which, as we said, aired on MTV for the first time on September 29th of 1991. So we'll get into that one a little bit here. So, Nevermind was Nirvana's major label debut. Geffen Records had signed them away from Sub Pop, after the whole Bleach thing and getting ready for this. And Smells Like Teen Spirit was the lead single. Obviously, it was the first track on the album and certainly the most popular one. So, as you do, you got to make a music video. So the music video was recorded on August 17th of 1991, and it was coordinated by video director Samuel Bayer. It was his first music video that he'd ever done. And I was just watching an interview with him, and he kind of spoke about his experience, and kind of getting included with that. And he had moved out to that, to LA relatively recently before this music video, and he was putting out a bunch of feelers because he needed work. And somehow he got tied in with the label, and they were like, yeah, like, we have this band Nirvana, like, they need a video for their next single. Like, it should be, in the interview, he was like, the label told me, like, it should do pretty well. Like, we think this record will sell like a couple 100,000 copies. Little did they know, obviously, where it would go. But he signed on without having had any music video experience. And they created, certainly one of the most iconic music videos of all time. Over the years, there's, different Rolling Stones of the world, the MTVs of the world. They always make lists of like the best music videos of all time, and this one's always in the top 10. MTV did a list at the end of the decade in 1999, and this ranked number 3 on the list. But as we were saying, it was shot on August 17th of 1991, and there were a couple of influences that they were all going for with this. And they kind of wanted a cross between just kind of the vibe and the optics of a 1979 movie called Over the Edge, which starred a young and developing Matt Dillon. Before, this was over a decade before he took up the role of Cliff Pontier in Singles, which is obviously the magnum opus of his career, one of the most charismatic figures to ever grace the screen. But it was a kind of a cross between that and then a film the Ramones put together called Rock and Roll High School. So obviously, the premise of the Teen Spirit music video is obviously in a high school and an auditorium and everything. And, circulating around on the internet is the original poster for the casting call for this. So they didn't go to central casting to get their extras. They literally just put it out on the street like, hey, like we need people for this music video. So it says casting call for Nirvana fans. Nirvana needs you to appear in their upcoming music video, Smells Like Teen Spirit. You should be 18 to 25 years old, an adept in high school persona, i.e. preppy punk nerd jock. No clothing with name brands or logos, please. You will need to be at GMT Studios, Stage 6, on Saturday, August 17th at 11:30 a.m. Be prepared to stay for several hours. Come support Nirvana and have a great time. And then below that, it had a little map as to where exactly that studio was. And they just put it out on the street. And lo and behold, the extras came. And I can't imagine anybody in that room would realize, just how pivotal of a day that was and how popular that music video had become. To speak nothing of how many times it must have played on MTV throughout the years. The video has over 2 billion views on YouTube alone. So you figure, how many multiples of billions of plays this thing has had and how many billions of people have seen it over the years.
Yeah. How many people do you think were in that the cast?
I don't know. I would imagine like, I don't know, 100? I have no idea, honestly.
If you ask people, the word of mouth, everybody, there's probably 300 or 400 people were there.
Yeah, well, probably thousands of people say that. It's like the sporting event. It's like, oh, like, this.
I was there. I didn't leave. I didn't leave early. I was there for the comeback.
Yeah, they were there. But apparently,
do you know who's kicking rocks with all this?
What's that?
VH1.
Oh man,
they missed their shot.
Dude, they could have done it.
Hey kid, nice shot. That's what they were saying to MTV.
Seriously. So in that interview with Samuel Bayer, the director, the main theme in this interview, he was like, he just kept trying to articulate how upset and over it and pissed off both the band and the extras were, simply because of how long it was taking. Evidently, the band and a lot of the extras didn't necessarily know how long the process would be. I mean, even on the poster, it said, please be, prepared to stay for several hours. Well, the thing took 12 plus hours. So more than the couple of hours that maybe that they had expected. And, Bayer was saying in this interview that, as a director, he kind of weaponized that anger that both the band had and, the extras had. So apparently, Kurt and the band had played the song and gone through it so many different times, but he needed more. Like, he didn't have the right shots. He didn't have everything. So he kept kind of going to the band and going to the label like, hey, like, Kurt needs to do this again. Kurt needs to do this again. And Kurt just got more and more upset at the process, because I can't imagine it's fun to do this one thing, over and over again for, the better part of a day. But Bayer went on to say that, those later shots where the band was really, really upset ended up being the best ones. And it really helped to elevate the attitude of the music video, which makes sense. And another really funny tidbit that he shared too was that, the famous scene at the end where kind of the extras basically destroy the set. They asked to do that. Like, it was getting on to like the 11th, 12th hour. And they were like, hey, like, like, we need to break some shit. Like, we need to do something. And he was like, thankfully, he's like, I had one roll of film left. Obviously, like, whenever something like this happens, the camera operator only has one roll, and it was just luck and everything. So who's to say whether that's true or not? But the scenes at the end of the video where like everybody's just kind of tearing the set apart. That was a popular request of the people that were there. And they were able to do that. And afterwards, Kurt had some suggestions, and he wasn't happy with the original cut of it. And, a couple different shots of, whoever was playing like the principals and the teachers Kurt wanted changed. And it was his idea also during the solo to... The original shot, I guess, of the solo had him like actually like miming out what the solo would be, but then the final cut version had him playing like way up on the neck, like in a place where you couldn't obviously play the solo, just to kind of speak to like Kurt's humor and just like good taste in like making an interesting moment like that. So I mean, imagine like it's your first time directing a music video. It's Nirvana's first big music video. Everybody's pissed off, everybody's tired. Like, I don't think anybody who was there as an extra got paid for it, all that kind of thing. But they were able to hold it together by a thread and put this thing together. And obviously it went to air just over a month later, and at the end of September, having been shot on August 17th. And then, the rest was history, as they like to say.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. The band started playing the original, the first live performance was early that year in April 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And then the song was released on the 10th of September. And then this music video came out on the 29th. So it's pretty interesting that all happened, it all happened in a year. It makes sense that they were playing stuff live and getting a feel for it. And I'm sure that it really, obviously they didn't expect total like how much it would be met with met so positively by everybody, but pretty awesome time. I can just imagine Kurt wrote this pop song. He was trying to write the best pop. Smells like Teen Spirit. Everybody knows the story about how someone said he smells like Teen Spirit, which is like a fragrance, and he took it, and it's like a perfect play on words too, about like the angst. And then you roll into the fact about how they were upset with the way it was recording. They were getting like upset, and they were, it was just boiling over, and then that's where the shots came. It's like a perfect storm of a perfect situation to have all the emotions come through and have like this really awesome music video encapsulating exactly what they were trying to do. And it was also a great idea to do a pep rally type theme, and like it really was well put together, and that's why it was a hit. I mean, it may have been his first one, but this guy was on point,
setting the bar high. Yeah. The funny thing too is it does not seem to be a unique experience that shooting and creating a music video is an incredibly agonizing experience for the band and for the people involved. That seems to be a common thread. And like, it's one of those things where it's like, to be an extra, especially an unpaid extra for something like this, like maybe on paper ahead of time, it sounds like a good idea. But then like when you actually get into it, it's like, man, like what did I sign up to? It's kind of like akin to like one of your buddies like asks for help moving or something. It's like, oh, like, that'd be fun. How bad could it be? And next thing you know, like you're several hours over the time allotment that you thought it would take. And, you're just so much waiting around doing the same things over and over and over again. And like, I don't have the eye to be able to discern like what would be a good take and what would be a bad take. So I don't really know, why it needed to go that long, but that's for the showbiz type people to understand and to make those decisions. And that is not me, not one of those guys. So
Chris, I know that you're one of the Pixies' biggest fans out there.
I love them, of course.
So in regards to this, and he's a musician here, but when they were writing, and this was one of the first recording sessions that Nirvana did with Butch Vig, but Nirvana. Kurt Cobain was quoted saying, "I was trying to write the ultimate pop song. I was basically trying to rip off the Pixies. I have to admit it. When I heard the Pixies for the first time, I connected with the band so heavily that I should have been in that band, or at least a Pixies cover band. We use their sense of dynamics being soft and quiet, then loud and hard."
Hey, I mean, he was right about that, using those dynamics. What an incredible, like, hey, I'm so passionate about this thing that I think I should have been involved.
I should have been in the band or a Pixies cover band. Pixies cover band is wild.
Yeah,
to think about. There's definitely out there.
Oh, I'm sure that's out there. But not only are Pixies cover bands out there, but there are people that are passionate enough about the Pixies that they would dedicate a night of their lives to go see a Pixies cover band. So I mean, all of that is just incredible. I mean, maybe there's kindred spirits in the Pixies cover band crowd that like, hey, I love this shit so much. I should have been around. I should have been in this.
I should have been there.
That's crazy.
That should have been me.
Like that is some crazy talk.
That should have been me.
Hey, that's what life's about, though. You have to have the requisite passion like that for some things, I suppose. But I don't know, man. I mean, needless to say, I mean, this one went on to be, unbelievably iconic, and I think their most iconic video. Certainly amongst many from that era, but kind of a cool story behind it. But yeah, I always find that casting poster to be pretty pretty interesting, and I love it when it floats around here and there.
Have you seen the Weird Al's music video of "Smells Like Nirvana" is what it's called?
I'm going to be 29 in 2 days, and to this point I've gone 28 years and 363 days avoiding that. I've never seen it. I don't really it's not something I need to seek out, but I know
great.
I was going to say you're a supporter of Weird Al, right?
Oh yeah.
Your dad is too, especially, right?
Oh yeah, my dad, and cuz he Weird Al was big. I don't
well, that's the thing. I think it's one of those like you had to be there and I was not there.
Like there was like he was taking songs. It was a big honor. But also a lot of people hated it. Like Madonna, like she hated it, and there's a few people that did not want to be. They thought it was like it was a chameleonaire. No, what's the song? Gangster's Paradise. That's not Chameleonaire? That's
I forget who it is. But.
Yeah, but he hated it. But anyway, yeah, this song was one I
Coolio
watched it.
Yeah,
Coolio. Yeah, they did a music video and it called "Smells Like Nirvana" where they like, he was mumbling the lyrics and they did the whole, and it was really good. I mean, it's funny, and because Weird Al's like really smart and like the songs are well written and funny and whatnot. And we just watched the movie. He has a movie where Elijah Wood stars in it. Well, Elijah Wood stars as Weird Al, and it's like a satire comedy about his story, and it's really pretty funny.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of Jack Black's in it, a few random other comedians and stuff. And Elijah Wood's the main guy. And Elijah Wood's weird. Yeah.
Are you a Jack Black guy?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
I love Tenacious D. I mean, School of Rock is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love, like, I love his musical, like, style and like craziness and like all the videos that he performs, like, with another band. I think he played with the Foo Fighters on something, and like he comes out and sings. It's so fun. Like he has some fun stuff. So I do enjoy, and the Tenacious D, that movie, and like that. I think that album is awesome. Like the Pick of Destiny or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere with this next thought, but I just feel the need to say it. My grandparents, their next door neighbor looks just like Jack Black.
I believe it. There's probably a lot of people that look like Kyle.
A lot of people out there that look like Jack Black.
Well, I'll say there's probably even more people that look like Kyle Gass.
The Gas Master.
That guy definitely has a lot of people. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people look like him. They're just two like overweight dudes that rip.
The everyman personality. Yeah, they rip.
I would love to do an album review for that. That would be fun. Have you seen the movie?
I've never seen the movie.
Seriously?
Which movie?
Pick of Destiny.
Yeah, I've never seen Pick of Destiny.
You've seen School of Rock, though.
I've never seen it. It's bad, isn't it?
It's really bad. It's really. I know what we're doing next time we get together. We are going to pregame and watch these two movies.
Yep, I'm in a little double feature action. Yeah, I've not. I
can't believe it.
I know, dude. Gosh. Yeah, bad.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
It took a lot of guts to admit that over the airwaves.
Yeah, it did. I'm thankful for your honesty. You're keeping true to the.
Hey, we can't lie in 2025.
And that was a very easy point to I was thinking tell that white lie.
Well, because here's the thing, like you can do the I've seen it and just kind of like nod along, or like the one that I've always employed in the past is like, I've seen parts of it, or like I've seen it once,
I've
but it was
seen
a really long time ago.
That one gets used a lot.
I do that one all the time because then it's like, you don't lose any street cred because like you have seen it, but like plausible deniability if you don't remember the details because it was a long time ago.
You're not held accountable for and then they just start talking broad strokes like the theme, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe I've never seen this, or maybe you knew.
Yeah, and then you just try to change the subject as quickly as you can, so you're out of the danger zone. But I'll be honest.
You go adjacent really fast.
Yep, exactly. So, not seen those. So perhaps, no, not even perhaps. Like, we got to do that.
Yeah, no, that's on the schedule.
Yeah, we'll book it. That'll be our next hang. That's pretty good. So that's the Teen Spirit music video. As we said, people were reviewing it for the first time 34 years ago today. Also, 33 years ago today, as we mentioned earlier, Dirt and Core were released by Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots, respectively. We'll get into the Dirt Zone here for a little bit, if you'd like. And both of these albums we've done full album reviews on. So if you go into our podcast page and you just keyword search Dirt and Core, you can go back and take a look. I know Core was one of the first episodes that we'd ever done, and Dirt I think came a little bit later, but pretty solid episodes if I do say. So definitely worth taking a look back. But with Dirt, it was the last album that Mike Starr was a member of, and then they ended up, parting ways with him and getting Mike Inez into the band. But, this one, you can't say enough about. I know we got into some of the track listing and whatnot prior to this, but it's kind of funny. Like, you have people that are facelift people and you have people that are Dirt people. I think in the beginning I was a Dirt person, then I went to facelift. But now I think the Alice in Chains album that I listen to the most would be their self-titled from 1995. But I think the Dirt album was the perfect bridge, I think, between facelift and the self-titled Three Leg Dog album. And certainly, in speaking of their hits, obviously, as we mentioned last week, I mean, Them Bones, Down in a Hole Rooster, Godsmack, Angry Chair, and Wood. I mean, that's a strong 13 tracks on this album too. I mean, that's a 57 minutes of music. That's a pretty substantial record as far as length goes, and quality. I mean, that goes without saying too.
Yeah, this album is incredibly. It's pretty eerie, right? It's pretty like. I mean, I think I read that 6 of the 13 songs are written about addiction, and like it's a pretty heavy topics throughout all of it, and it's like it's a heavy arrangements with the song, and like it's pretty metal. But Jerry had said that we did a lot of soul searching on this album. There's a lot of intense feelings, and that we deal with daily. We deal with our daily demons through music. All of the poison that builds up during the day, we cleanse when we play. Very, very much like a Jerry quote. Too.
Yeah, that's a classic Jerry quote.
Yeah, and this album went and AIC was really good about writing about addiction, writing about their struggles, and really using it as an outlet for the band and therapy. And back in the day, it was probably the best form of therapy that you're going to get is writing music and yelling, and Lane's always like belting it out. And this album is really full of tracks that were very intimate to their lives, I think, and some of the struggles that they had.
Yeah, and that goes back. I think it was Lane that said it at one point in an interview. He's like, we write about ourselves because we know ourselves, and he's like, we don't write about babes in cars because like we don't know anything about that. All we can do is write about our experiences, and I think it especially started. The SAP EP predates Dirt by several months. That came out in February of '92, and then 7 months later, Dirt ended up coming out. But I think SAP really laid the groundwork. I think in terms of the lyrical content and the subject matter that they would start to write about, even more so than what you saw on Facelift. And SAP starts it, and then Dirt, it really, really starts to get real. And then obviously with Jar of Flies and Self-Titled in 94 and 95, they really, really cut down to bone in terms of what they were writing about. And once again, I mean, when I think about this band, like, obviously you think about the harmonies, you think about the riffs, you think about all that stuff, but I just think like the honesty and the vulnerability with which they approached their music is the one thing that shines through for me. And even still, like, all of these songs that went on to great commercial success, like down in a hole. And even Rooster, for example, like Jerry Cantrell wrote that about his father's experiences in Vietnam and is on record as saying like writing that song was the beginning of a healing process between him and his father. And, it was a catalyst for them being able to have conversations that they weren't able to have before, so all of these songs that we've kind of normalized and memeified or just, you listen to without really considering the full weight of the songs. I mean, even a song like Wood, it was, written about Andrew Wood, dedicated to him and the struggles with heroin across the scene and everything. These were guys that were dealing with, life and death issues, and they laid it bare on these records for all of us to listen to. And of course, as a listener, you can take from it whatever you want, and it's not to say that every time you listen to a heavy record, you have to take the full weight of that every time you listen. I don't think that's a healthy thing to do, but it's there when you need it, and there's lessons and there's messages in there for when you need them.
Oh yeah. If you are listening casually and it's in that moment, it'll strike you and you at least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry, obviously he is really good with words, and when especially his quotes and interviews, and he has another one about the album and the time that he said in 2013, Jerry said that darkness was always part of the band, but it wasn't all about that. There was always an optimism, even in the darkest shit we wrote. With Dirt, it's not like we're saying, oh yeah, this is a good thing. It was more of a warning than anything else, rather than, hey, come and check this out. It's great. We were talking about what was going on at the time, but within that, there was always a survivor element, a kind of triumph over the darker elements of being a human being. I still think we have all of that intact, but maybe the percentage has shifted.
I don't think I've heard that quote before, and there's no clarification that needs to be said about that. Like that is Alice in Chains to a T.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's so elegantly put and like just beautiful. Like, oh man, the darker elements of being human, and still think that we have them intact, but maybe the percentage has shifted.
And it's interesting with him talking about the percentages shifting, speaking of the music that they wrote in 92, at that point, Mike Starr hadn't really started to have, to reach the depths of his issues, obviously, that resulted in his departure from the band. And, Lane was obviously well down that path, but it hadn't gotten to the point that it did in 94, 95, and 96 and so on. So it's, one of those things where, I think on this record, you can feel those percentages shift, and they continue to shift with each subsequent release and the passing of time, both with these guys as a band and in their own personal lives. And I think that the percentage of darkness only, unfortunately continued to increase. But, as we were just saying, like the one thing that they remained dedicated to was like wherever the cards were falling at that time, you could expect to hear that on the records, and on those songs, which is, got to be a very painful thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, the ability to talk about struggles and what you're going through is not an easy thing to do. And a lot of people will talk about stuff that's going in their life, but they definitely were at the front of like really being vulnerable and like and turning it into, ammo and turning it into like, turning it into something. And that probably helped, like you said, it helped them, get through or, survive a little longer, the survivor element of it all.
Yeah, 100%. And just kind of speaking of the artistry, I think that extends to the album artwork as well. The really, really iconic image of the woman laying in the dirt. That shoot took place on June 14th, 1992. Rocky Schenk, who is one of their longtime photographers, he worked with them on so many different things, was the photographer for this. And it features the woman on the album artwork is a actress named Maria O'Brien. And obviously we all know what the album artwork looks like. And Lane Staley in 1992 spoke about the album cover, and he said, "This album cover, I like to refer to it as revenge. The song Dirt was written to a certain person who basically buried my ass. So the woman on the album cover is kind of the portrayal of that person being sucked down into the dirt instead of me. The picture is a spitting image of her, and that wasn't even planned. Actually, I was pretty angry about it when I first saw it. She's not happy about it either. It was real eerie."
Dude. These guys, they're just like, they're a hit machine with lyrics and quotes.
Dude, but before the days of like having an issue with like a significant other, when like nowadays, like you just like subtweet about them or like you post like a cryptic Instagram story. It's like this, like, no, we're gonna subtweet you via the image on a major label album release that's gonna go platinum. Like that's old school.
Then they're probably listening to songs thinking everything's about her.
Yeah, dude. 100%.
That's wild.
The game is always the same in the course of human relationships. You know, I'm sure back in the day, like, you know, it's like, did you write that hieroglyph about me? I know you did. Crazy stuff. Funny. Hell of a record, though, man.
Hell of a record, yeah. Really, really solid. So,
yeah.
Also coming out on that day,
another hell of a record.
Another hell of a record. Debut album for Stone Temple Pilots. This is Core, September 29th, and this album, like I said, we did a pretty extensive episode on it pretty early on, and got into like, you know, the theme of the album. You know, I think on the picture they definitely talked about the influence of Adam and Eve, and I believe the album cover is actually Eve with the
apple in the garden.
The apple in the Garden of Eden, and they talk about, you know, these themes that going with like, you know, greed or sex type thing in Wicked Garden. There's like a lot of like I mean, there's a lot of meaning involved in it, and I remember being really surprised going through it. And we're not going to go through it right now of all of this stuff because we were. I mean, that is a good episode, and
that was episode 27. And I remember 27, dude.
No way. I thought it was a little bit later than that. That's
September 17th, 2021, dude. Over 4 years ago, we did that, and I remember doing that episode because, you know, I think we probably had the same conversation where we talked about the artwork.
Let's just insert that part right here.
A 55-minute podcast. I'll just cut and paste it right in here. But I remember when we were going song by song, like the religious symbolism on this record, and allusions to that. I remember it hit us like a truck in real time while we were recording the episode, and we walked away from it with like a new appreciation for the album. You know, because like with Dirt, for example, you know, it's an album that's heavily, you know, influenced by their experiences with drugs and addiction, whereas this one, you know, it's kind of a little bit more abstract. But, you know, there's so many things that you can read into on this one as well. And, you know, as far as debuts go, you know, it's hard to get much better than that. And the producer on this album was Brendan O'Brien, who was the, you know, longtime Pearl Jam producer. I think O'Brien's done like 9 of Pearl Jam's studio albums, so, you know, they got hooked up with him at the time, and you know, created this one. And I know we breezed through the set list last week when we were talking about this album, but once again, obviously, Dead and Bloated, Sex Type Thing, Wicked Garden, Sins on there, Creep, Plush, Cracker Man, the aforementioned top tier Patreon supporter Cracker Man, and Where the River Goes. You know, there's just so many good tracks, and, you know, they were all collaborative with their with the music writing process. I mean, up and down this record, you know, each member of the band has writing credits, and Scott obviously bringing the lyrics along with him, and those vocal performances, you know. And I think that the touring they did immediately after Core, I think was their best among their best eras of touring, and, you know, they're at the top of their game. And I think, you know, it was a little bit before Scott really started struggling with a lot of the things that he would end up struggling with. But, you know, as far as debuts go, as we said, you know, we can't really get too much better than this.
Yeah, and this is musically, this is like pretty rock and roll heavy. Yeah. Pretty, like, this is like really grunge for the band, and some of the other stuff that they get into. We talked about their diversity in how they play,
and they didn't really do this again afterwards, because you think about Purple, and you think about Tiny Music in number 4, like they really, really branched out, which I as a music fan, like that's exactly what you want to see. You know, you start with an area, but, you know, in terms of a starting area, you know, it's all, like you said, this is just a great rock record. And then they started introducing various other influences, you know, for example, like, you know, this one came out, and then their next album had a song like Pretty Penny on it, you know, like I wonder like how you go from Where the River Goes to Pretty Penny, for example, or my second album, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Kitchenware and candy
I love
bars.
it. I think that, you know, we definitely, you know, express our thoughts on how when artists change their genre or their ways of playing, and they explore, and we appreciate that. And I think, like, looking back at their catalog all at one time, which is what we do for a lot of these older bands. I think, though, if I was in that position and like I heard these albums and as they were coming out, I would appreciate like the change in the expression of themselves, because they did an excellent job. And this album, you know, I think we talked about a good bit how just complete of an album it was. The theme, the writing and obviously the packaging with the cover and whatnot, and just like how just interconnected it was. And every song is also standalone. Like there's a really well put together, whether it's lyrically, how Scott's singing is really excellent. All the drums and the music is just really, really solid. Like this is quite the album to not only, be in your arsenal, but your debut album. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So I do think that a lot
of hits.
Yeah, number 27 is a good one to go back to. That was, as we said last week, I think it was one of the first ones that like we kind of hit no doubt.
Go back to 20. Yeah, pause this episode. Go back to 27 if you want to hear more about Core, and then come back and we'll move on to the next.
Black gives way to blue, exactly. And this is one we've not done a dedicated episode on, so maybe this could come. But as we were saying, this was the first album that they did in kind of the new iteration of the band. So it came out in 2009. Alice in Chains had started to reform in late 2005. A couple of different benefits and reunions, one-offs, kind of things like that with William Duvall. But it wasn't until 06, 07 that they really started getting down to it and writing new music. And obviously, when you lose somebody like Lane Staley, and the band had went on indefinite hiatus following Unplugged and the short tour they did with Kiss basically until Lane's death, you don't really know what's going to happen. But at the time in 05 and 06 when they started doing some reunion shows and whatnot, Jerry Cantrell obviously was being asked a lot about it and like what the future of the band was going to be and like what the purpose of it was. And he said, "We want to celebrate what we did and the memory of our friend. We have played with some singers who can actually bring it and add their own thing without being a Lane Staley clone. We're not interested in stepping on Lane's rich legacy. It's a tough thing to go through. Do you take the Led Zeppelin approach and never play again because the guy was that important? That's the approach we've taken for a lot of years. Or do you give it a shot and try something? We're willing to take a chance on it. It's completely a reunion because the three of us who are left back together, but it's not about separating and forgetting. It's about remembering and moving on." And I think that's the ethos that has carried both Jerry as a solo performer as well as Alice in Chains and their newest iteration of the band with William Duvall. Their history, I think they do the best job out of any band that I'm aware of to honor the past history of the band and to continue to create things that are respectful of that, but also respectful of the fact that they have a desire to continue. And I think they completely towed that middle line perfectly. And then obviously Black Gives Way to Blue was the first result. And that album, they began recording it in 2008, and it lasted throughout much of that fall and into the late winter, early spring of 2009 before coming out on September 29th of 2009. And it was their return. And what a great return it was. Obviously, I think perfectly, just like Jerry said. Jerry's the kind of guy, when you ask him about something, as we were just saying with the quote about Dirt, he tells you everything that you need to know, and there's really nothing else you need to expound upon it. And he just tells it how it is.
Yeah. And this album, it was the first, I think they played, the last concert was in 96, and they took like a 10-year break or 9 years until they played. And then, this came out in 2009, and, listening to this album, they were also with Virginia Records, and sonically, there's a big difference to like all the albums where they lean on Lane's vocals. So Jerry is leading a lot of these songs, and you get this like Jerry led sound, which Duvall obviously but he has more of he harmonizes really well with Jerry, obviously, but it's a total different harmony. So they're still Alice in Chains, but they also are just another outfit that has it's a different sound, but you have the AIC obviously roots in it. But I think it's just an excellent album that it's almost like it's just Jerry led in a lot of ways, and this is where Jerry, we know him as a songwriter. We have a few more albums, and it really, you can tell that it started here, kind of the influence that Jerry had in his songwriting and how he saw a full band playing together. And, because it's slightly different than, when he was younger in the 90s. I mean, that could just be an age thing too. But I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but like this is like it's a different sound. They do a great job of playing, moving forward with the band, and like it's slightly different, but it has all the roots that people want to know. And I think that is like the best way to do it, rather than just trying to copy the sound and kind of do like oh, and we need to do it that way. Still, like they played to the strengths that they had, and that was Jerry leading and writing, and Duvall like being himself.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there's a through line, with all of this. And Jerry Cantrell one time said, because he's always asked about, Mike and Lane, for example. And he said, it gets really difficult to be the guy that has to talk about your dead friends all the time. After 15 years of talking about my friends dying, you really just want to focus on life and moving forward, because that's all I can really control. I miss the hell out of all of them. And I think, this album is really ground zero for that moving forward. And even, in relation to the album artwork there. So I'm sure we're all familiar with the album artwork for Black Gives Way to Blue. It's a illustration of a heart behind, in front of a black and blue background. And Jerry said the whole thing with the heart, there wasn't a real intention or a reason. It's just a collection of ideas that we put together. To me, we had our hearts broken by losing Lane and losing ourselves. And it also took a lot of that to try to get through this process, to even take the chance and just stand up and risk. It celebrates life. So once again, kind of marrying that concept of, paying tribute to the past, but also taking what you've learned in the past and the memories of the past and creating something new and beautiful, to move forward with. And they're still doing that, obviously, every time they play, which is a really special thing to see.
So this album, I'll be a little vulnerable here, and I haven't spent a ton of time with it, like compared to the other albums. And I think that's probably is true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy it and want to. And we were talking funnily last week about what Black Gives Way to Blue. And, sometimes it's black, sometimes it's blue. But really interesting, another quote by Jerry, and interesting how the title came about. So apparently, when Chris Cornell and Susan Silver's then 9-year-old daughter, Lily Cornell, asked her mother, "What does Black Give Way to Blue mean?" Silver suggested they call their Uncle Jerry and ask him.
Yep.
And Jerry explained to her, sometimes there are very dark and challenging times in life, and it may seem like things will never get better. But if you stay strong and keep moving forward and look out on the horizon, you'll start to see a little point of light out there, and slowly the black would give way to blue.
And that's what it's all about. And
Uncle Jerry.
Yeah, Uncle Jerry, man.
Uncle Jerry, dude.
So it's really interesting because Lily Silver was the manager for Alice in Chains for years and years. And obviously she was married to Chris Cornell for a long time, and Lily Cornell Silver was their only child. And in 2020, I think it was like November of 2020, the Museum of Pop and Culture, I forget the full name, but like the acronym is MoPop. Like they did a tribute to Alice in Chains, and they had a whole bunch of different people covering different Alice in Chains songs. My favorite one from that night was Mark Lanigan covered Nutshell. And it was one of like the last things on camera that Mark really did, before he passed away. But Lily Cornell Silver played Black Gives Way to Blue on piano, and it was like her musical debut basically. And it was still COVID time, so like it wasn't like a live studio thing, and like there wasn't an audience. But Susan Silver had introduced Lily, and like here now to perform Black Gives Way to Blue, and she shared that anecdote, where it's like let's give our crazy Uncle Jerry a call and see what it means. So, and once again, just so gently and so eloquently to explain to a child, everything that goes into it. And I remember Lily did an unbelievable job with that cover performance. It was her solo piano, and just really, really perfect.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, I love the connections, and I like we talked, Jerry just speaks so eloquently about this, and like, I don't know, I want to read one more quote about the album, if that's fine.
I need as many Jerry quotes as I can get.
Well, I'm thinking like we're getting to the point where like, we're just reading, but like we do this every time we talk about something Jerry does, because he just, the way he talks about it. Yeah. All right, so this is like Cantrell talks about seeing lead vocals for the album, which that's like the main
big.
I think that's the main talking point and change with this album. And he said, "I had to step up quite a bit, more than I ever had. Lane Staley always gave me a lot of confidence to do that, to sing more lead. you can hear that as the albums progress. I kind of start growing into that role. I attribute a lot of that to the confidence that Lane gave me. Basically him just saying, dude, you gotta fucking sing. These songs are all your songs. You write all this fucking great material, and it's not like I don't like singing them or whatever, but they're personal to you. You should fucking sing them. Laughs. You can do it. I'm always forever grateful for him to say that. And having some experience touring on my own and doing that, it's kind of a natural progression to take a larger role on the record and this incarnation of the band. The cool thing about it is that I have William to work together with, and that's a lot like the band that worked together before. Dude, and he's right. Like, you know, it's just like them talking about Dirt. It's like we don't talk about babes and whatnot. We talk about us because we know us the best. And like, you know, Jerry's writing these songs and he has the most intimate connection with the lyrics and, you know, at times. And I think that is a very true sentiment when writing and like anything. Like if you wrote the riff to the guitar, you know, someone else can learn it, but they're not going to be able to play it the same way you do.
Yeah,
that happens. You hear that all the time when you hear people cover songs. Like, yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just not the way Van Halen used to play it. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And once again, like, you know, Lane being one of the best vocalists certainly of the era and maybe perhaps ever. Like, no ego. It's like, dude, like you wrote these songs. Like yeah, we got to hear you sing them. And you hear that. Like, I mean, you don't hear Jerry much, if at all, on Facelift. But then, you know, it starts with Sap, and then, you know, on Dirt you hear him a little bit more, and then you hear him on Jar of Flies, and then you hear him, you know, more and more as years go on. And what a gift that is too, because I mean, how great of a voice Jerry has, and certainly, you know, in the post Lane Alice in Chains, he's doing more and more of that, and you know, certainly his solo stuff too. I mean, it's an unbelievably complete package. And you know, you have to wonder too. It's like, if had Lane not been so encouraging, like what would Dirt have sounded like? What would Jar of Flies have happened in the way that it did? And you know, if Jerry hadn't had those experiences doing that with Lane, would he have felt the desire to continue the band? You know, these are all interesting questions, and it's like one of those things where, you know, I don't think you ever really know the impact that you might have on people until years down the road. And, you know, I wonder if Lane would have been able to know the impact that he had by encouraging Jerry to do this and take more of a presence when it came to the vocals. I'm sure glad he did, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very important point to think about. You never know the impact you're going to have on somebody. And, yeah, I know Jerry is very thankful for Lane for a lot of reasons, but that's awesome. Well, I think that pretty much rounds up a good synopsis for these
Absolutely.
3 albums, and
all over the place, man. We got it. We covered all the bases, as they like to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, consider listening to those albums. You know, watch the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video. You know, get into the zone a little bit, as these are the actual anniversary for that. If you're listening on Monday, if you're not, and if you're listening at a later date, thank you for coming to us. Chris, do you have anything else you'd like to say? Maybe This Day in Music, or I'm sorry, not This Day in Music. We already did that. Any songs you like to? Yeah, let's start over.
Oh man, I got to think about this one for a little bit. So while I think about it, I would like to thank everyone for listening. I'd also like to thank our producer Drew McFadden for continuing along this journey with us. Man, there's so many places I could go for This Day in Music.
If only I knew where to go.
I know. I guess I could go anywhere I want if only I knew where to go. Yeah, you know, I
can go.
Okay. Yeah, you go first. Okay.
I just want to. The other day I was listening to a playlist of sorts, and Chris Cornell's version of Patience came on.
Okay.
And it was extremely good.
Obviously better than the Guns N' Roses version.
Obviously much better than the Guns N' Roses. Yeah. And it was so good, and just was one of those just like clear reminders, like, yep, this dude's voice was incredible. His soft tones, the way that he did like acoustic songs and just was just incredible. Obviously we love his live and loud stuff, but man, that guy, when you give him a guitar, he's one of those guys, you give a guitar and magic happens, and it was incredibly good. So that song's definitely going on.
Nice, dude. I like that. That's a good selection. I think I figured out my song of the week, and yeah, there's a little bit of like a path in here. So Mark Lanigan's memoir was edited by a guy named Mishka Shubali, who is a great author, and he's a musician, songwriter in his own right. But prior to doing his solo stuff and really entering into his career as a writer, he played music in a couple of different bands. There was one band, as the legend goes, he lived in New York in like the late 90s and early 2000s, and he was in a band called Come On. And as the legend goes, Come On was playing at a club in New York. It must have been like 2000 or 2001. And they were playing on a bill with a little known at the time band called The Strokes. And there was a major label representative there who saw Come On play and saw The Strokes play, and believed that Come On was a better band than The Strokes, and they were like, here's our information, like reach out, like we'd love to do something with you guys. And because of various circumstances and whatnot, they never ended up reaching out to the label, so the label pivoted and started talking with The Strokes, and then the rest was history, obviously. Wow. So that was one thing that happened. And after Come On kind of did its thing and they ended up breaking up, Mishka played bass in a band called Fresh Kills, which was also in New York in the early 2000s, that kind of thing. And I don't really know too much about that band. There's not really a whole lot available in terms of like their music online or even on YouTube and whatnot, but I found one of their songs probably like a month or two ago, and it's called I Quit Smoking. And it's just a really good song. I'm not sure how to describe it. It was from a self-titled album that they had put out, but it's a really good song. And I think if people like the kind of music that we usually spend time talking about here, I think you'll like this one as well. So I'll add it to my songs of the week list.
Perfect.
Yeah, man.
Well, there you have it. Two great songs to listen to, a couple albums, and a music video, all at your fingertips.
That's it.
Thank you so much for tuning in and staying to the end of the episode. You guys are the real MVP. If you'd like to, like I said, share a review, and we'll read it on the next episode, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Ethan, thank you for your time. We'll check in a little bit.
That's right. Same time, same place next week.
Better believe it.
All right, guys. Rock and roll.
On.